Okay, we've just had an intense chess game, so our workshop's a little bit later today, but this is a topic that when we went to one of our recent events, that one of our past students said this was one of the number one things, well they only listed two, but this was one of them, that they wanted to know more about before they left the course. So I've designed this little bit of code, and it should hopefully give you some practice at passing data between components. So if we have a look at the code first, let's have a look at the code first. So essentially, again, everything's in React, right? We're learning React here, so why not create a mini little React app out of it? And we've got a few family components, right? We've got a dad, a mum, a daughter, and a son. So in other words, we've got two parent components of the daughter and the son, and then we've got some sibling components as well. Right, the daughter and the son are siblings, and of course children or childs of the dad and mum. So what we want to do is just be able to effectively pass data between all of these components. Data or information, whatever you want to call it. Yeah. So in the main app, all I'm doing is rendering the dad component, because the dad is a modern man and he knows how to cook, so it's his job to look after the kids and cook the dinner. All right? So we're just rendering the dad at the moment, and mum's off doing her thing, whether that's just... Yeah. So there we go. Eh? Apparently so. Ewan doesn't agree. Ewan's old school. But anyway, we have the dad component effectively is just identifying himself, and then he needs to find out what both his daughter and his son want for dinner, right? So that he can cook it. So we're probably used to passing data from a parent to a child. We've done that quite a lot already. How do we do that? What's the name in React for passing data down from a parent component to a child component? So how would I pass information down to the daughter? Via props. Yeah, exactly, via props, Ewan, well done. So if I wanted to pass let's see what the daughter actually wants, the daughter or the son. Yeah, so we could pass down a prop called dad name or dad's name, yeah, to the daughter. How would we do that? Here's my daughter component here on line 26. How would I pass a prop called dad's name into there? Yep, so I could put it as the first prop in the list. That would be absolutely fine. Just type dad's name. And then, anyone give me a name? What do we want our dad to be called? Super Dad, or what was it? Greg's. Just Greg singular? As in the pie shop. Dad's is called Greg's, as in the pie shop. How do you spell Greg's? Is it double G? Okay. I'm going to go with Super Dad, because I can spell that. Okay. And then I think most of us know how to render it, right? We just, in our actual render method, we can return something like, I'm the daughter, my dad's name is this.props.dad's name. Does that match up? Let's have a look again. Was it a lowercase d? That would make sense. So let me put that as dad's name. And just in case you're wondering, we have declared our props in the constructor. So when I now go back to my web page, hopefully, yeah, my dad's name is SuperDad. We can clearly see that we've rendered that information on the screen via props. The trickier way to pass data, well, it's not necessarily that much trickier, but the less known way, if you like, is how to pass data from the daughter back up to the parent, yeah, back up to the dad or the mum. Does anyone know the process for doing that, or could tell me part of that process? pass it back up to pass it back down. So yeah, pass it back up to pass it down. So where am I starting my chain, Ewan? You say you're starting the chain in the daughter, or are you starting it in the parent, the dad? Okay, so what would be my first step in the daughter then?
Anyone else got the answer about it? I'm still thinking.
So I've essentially just taken out the bits we need there. So I want, when we click on the button, there's a little button there that just says send choice to dad. Then rather than my daughter wants unknown for dinner, we want to render what she does in fact want for dinner. So I've declared some information inside of my child component, inside of my daughter. She wants pancakes, she wants crepes, because we didn't get any the other day, so she wants them now. And we essentially want to send that information back up to the dad so that he can prepare some pancakes for her, yeah? So, how do we do that?
You could create a function in dad, and in that function we would change the state to an argument, and we can pass down the handle of that function to the daughter, and then when she wants to eat dinner, she can call that function with this dinner she wants.
Yeah, pretty much what Richard said. We're going to do it step by step so that hopefully it sinks in. But the first step that Richard mentioned was first we create a function in the parent. Yeah, so I've just called it talk to daughter. We want to communicate with the daughter. We want to get some information from her. What do we want to get? Well, we want to get her meal, her dinner from her, yeah? And we can change the state in the parent component based on the information that the daughter sends us, that the child component sends us. So you can see that I've initialized my son and daughter state to begin with, and the dinner or the meal is unknown to begin with, which is why my page is displaying unknown, yeah? That's where it's coming from. You right, you? Yeah? Yeah, cool. So this function that we created in the parent, we need to effectively call it from the child, because the child has the data. We want to put that data from the child into the function and send it back up to the parent. So the way that we do that is, again, we send a prop, but this time we don't send just some data down, we send the whole function down. We send this talk to function, or at least send a reference to it, this talk to daughter function down to the daughter as a prop. And because it's coming from the daughter this time, I've called it a talk to dad prop. So we're passing a function that has this mil parameter, and this will enable us to call the talk to daughter function from inside of the daughter. Yeah, so this is setting up that communication link there between the daughter and the parent. Again, obviously it's not making sense at this stage. This is just an intro. The way you're really going to learn it is you're going to take this code and you're going to play around with things and see what information you can send between them, yeah? But at least theoretically you know hopefully what you can do. Okay, so we've sent it down as a prop to the daughter. So where would I access that then? Let's say when we click on the button, I want to run that function. So what would I add to my button to run that function that's stored inside of the props when I click on the button? Richard, hold off for a second, see if someone else can get it. Yeah, let's create an on-click event, yeah? What goes inside my on-click event? Yeah, I'm going to do an arrow function method, yeah. And then what does my function return in this case? So the name of the function is called, well, the name of the prop is called talk to dad. But that prop is a function. Yeah? So what do I put? On click we're going to do talk to dad. Yeah, I mean we could do that. I've created an intermediate step, haven't I, there? So you want to do, how do I access talk to dad? Is it just this dot talk to dad? Or is it just talk to dad on its own? This dot what? This dot talk to dad? Yeah, I don't think that will find that. Talk to dad. Yeah, so talk to dad isn't defined because that will be looking inside of this current class. It will be looking inside of the daughter for a method called talk to dad, yeah? Instead, where are we getting that function from? Nope, we're inside of daughter now, yeah? We're inside of the class daughter now, so we're getting it from the parent, and we've stored it in the prop. So we must access that function from the props. This dot props, yeah. This dot props. Dot talk to dad, and then you want to run that function. And then what do we need to send back to the parent? What data do we want to send? Pancakes, right? Crepes. So how do I access crepes? What'd you say? This dot state dot dinner, right? In this case. Can I just put meal in there? I think that would be alright, right? So if that's getting a bit messy, what I previously did was just call a named function inside of the daughter class, and then that just calls the function instead, but that should be okay. So maybe I didn't even need an argument in there, right? Let's try it without, because we're not using meal anywhere. So we've just done it all in one line. Okay, so that should now call the talk to daughter function that is defined inside of dad and run this code, and the value that it has as meal should be crepes. That's the idea. Let's see if what we've created is correct or whether we have missed out any steps. Can anyone see anything I've missed out at this stage? No? Okay, let's try it. So this time, rather than importing from daughter, the one that we've just created is called create daughter. So we'll try loading that one instead. So it looks like it's still loading correctly, but then when we click this button, is it going to work? It does, indeed. Yeah. So we've managed to send the data up to our dad component, and dad now knows that the daughter wants crepes for dinner. So that's how we send data from a child to a parent component. Yeah, you do it via a callback function sent as a prop down to the child, and that calls the function that's defined in the parent. Bit confusing, it's a bit of a weird design pattern until you get used to it, but it will eventually become second nature if you do it enough times. Same as anything, right? The one other use case that we haven't covered is how does the daughter know what's going on with the brother? Yeah, so how do we communicate sibling to sibling stuff? Just using basic React. I don't want to use Redux or anything like that. Of course we can use state management tools to help us, or we can use the context API, but just we're looking at plain old React for now. Just how do we communicate between siblings? Anyone got any ideas?
Similar way that you send it to the parent, but instead push it down towards the sibling.
Yeah, we've got to do it in 2 steps. So first you send it up from the child component to the parent, and then you send it down from the parent to the different child component. So you have to use the parent component as an interim step, an intermediary, So we've just shown you how to send it up, via a callback, and we send it down, how? Via props, So we just need to combine the 2 methods. That's all we've got to do. So let's have a look at the, if you want the code, that's where it is, I've sent the link on Slack. And if you can't see it on the screen, you can obviously just pull it up in your own screen as well via that link, just clone it. So in the son, we've just got something very, very similar. He's got an update meal function that we call, and the son wants pasta, right? He doesn't seem to want pancakes. He probably wants both, to be honest, but he's getting pasta tonight, obviously. Dad's got to cook 2 different meals. He's a good dad. So then the son should take care of that, sending his choice to the dad, but then the daughter needs to be made aware of that. So we need to, in the dad component, give the daughter another prop, and I've just called it brother. We could call it brother's choice or brother's dinner, but for now I've just called it brother. And we're just going to get that from the state. So when the son communicates with the dad, it will store his meal choice in the state. But because set state is what type of method? Well, not to say because it's what type, but what does set state infer? Once it's called, something else happens after set state has been called or run. It re-renders things again, right? It re-renders the component again. And inside of that re-render is the daughter. And this value would have changed. So this.state.sonDinner would have changed. So that means that it will force the daughter component to re-render as well, so that it updates itself with the new data based on the son's choice, the son's choice or her brother's choice. So we had the same sort of thing going on in the son. We had a callback function that would pass his dinner choice up to the parent, and then we pass that dinner choice down to his sister via a prop. So just combining the 2 methods. But because our callback function updated the state, that forces a re-render of the component, which in turn forces a re-render of the daughter component as well. So you can see why we want to avoid doing too many re-renders, right? When we talk about this, try not to make your component re-render all the time, because re-renders are costly, because rather than re-rendering just one component, it might be that we've got lots of interlinked components and we're actually rendering all the components in a chain. So rather than just one thing getting re-rendered, we're going to re-render like 10 different components or something. So it can be very costly, and therefore the user is waiting, what's happening with my page? I'm waiting for all these changes to update. So that's why we try and minimize the amount of re-renders that our applications do. So if that has all been set up correctly, then when we pass the data from the son to the dad, it should also re-render the daughter, and on our app, don't know what I clicked there, and on our app, as well as the son updating his choice for the father there, the sister should also be aware of what he's chosen. We haven't given his mum a name yet, but that's fine. We can do that another time. So let's try clicking on the send choice to dad button. And hopefully we want this unknown to update and also this sentence to update. So the code for that, I've just written a ternary, I think. In the daughter, we've got a ternary. So if, it's not a very good one, but it works in this case, right? If the text doesn't equal unknown, then return my brother wants that for dinner. If it does equal unknown, say my brother hasn't chosen his dinner yet. Yeah, so it's very, very simple ternary to display that information. All right, let's test it. This is when it all goes wrong, right? Boom. So pasta gets updated, and the sister also knows that her brother wants pasta for dinner. So should we break it and fix it again? Just to test that? Yeah? So what should we break? All of it. So I'll leave the create daughter one because that's the one that you've worked on. And in the son then, let's get rid of those bits. And in the daughter, let's also get rid of her paragraph saying what her brother wants for dinner. Yeah? So now, if we go back to our app, we see we've got the dad component. If we click on the daughter's component button, still works, right? We haven't broken hers. But there's also no my brother wants so-and-so for dinner sentence in there. And if we click on the son's button, nothing happens, right? It's not updating his choice to the father. So can someone try and guide me through that process, or at least shout some words out at me that I've probably said in the last 20 minutes? So what are we missing in the son? Everything's set up on the dad, everything's set up on the parent. We've got a talk to son method, which will set the state. And we've also got this prop passing our talk to son method down. So it should be accessible to the son. Any ideas? Nothing pushing it up. Okay, so how do we send that data up? We've got pasta. How do we get that to the parent? What do I need to do inside of the son to send it up to the parent? We've got our callback function available via the props. Can we use it? Yes? I'm nodding my head rather vigorously in the room for the benefit of everyone. Okay, how do I do that then? How do I access this method that's stored in the props? Yeah, so to access it, this dot props dot method name. So it was called talk to, not called talk to mum, was it? Or was it? If I forgot to rename it, it should be called talk to dad. So that's how I access it. But what am I going to do with it? Do I want an event that triggers it? Yeah, we could use another onClick. Yep, let's use an onClick. And where does my onClick go? In my button. Yeah, exactly. Same as before. Yeah, I'm just getting us to repeat the steps so that we can have a go ourselves after this workshop ends. So onClick equals, what's missing? An arrow, yep. And anything else? Should we try it like that? Yeah. And let's call it. Okay, so if we call it at the moment, is it going to send any data up to dad? No, it's calling it, but it's sending nothing. So what do I want to send? This dot state dot dinner. Yep, fantastic. Okay, so that should send the son's choice up to dad. Let's check whether we've done that right. Yeah, pasta for dinner. Dad now knows. And he also knows what the daughter wants. Cool. How do we let, or should we do it the other way around? How do we let the son know what the daughter wants for dinner? So dad knows what they both want for dinner. And he's stored it in his state.
Send that to the son.
Yeah, let's send it to the son. How do I send it to the son? Someone else? How do I send data down from a parent component to a child component? Ewan said it earlier. Props. Yeah. And what do you want to call it? Sister meal or something like that? Yeah. What value does it take? It takes a value that we've stored in the state called it's not in the props because we haven't passed it down to the dad. We've passed it up to the dad and stored it in the state. Yeah, so it's this dot state dot daughter dinner. Okay, so that should now be available in the son component. So I'll head back to the son component. And then how would I display that on the screen? Don't worry about writing a message too much, just how would I then display the sister's meal inside of my son component? So we can just put it below the button if you want. How would I do that? What would I render to the screen? What's that closing brace there belong to?
Yeah, the person.
Oh yeah, it's the opening tag of the button. Yeah, I got you. Yeah. Cool. So how do I display crepes? Because the son wants to know what his sister's having to make his choice. We've passed it down as a prop. How do I display it from the props? Open curlies, yeah. This dot props dot yeah, what did I call it? Stored sister dinner, what else? Sister meal, I think I called it. Sister meal, let's check that. Yeah, sister meal. Yeah, so that should render that to the screen. If we want to make it obvious, let's just put it in a heading tag for now. Unknown. Yeah, at the moment it's unknown until the daughter sends her choice to the dad, and then the son also knows that she wants pancakes. Yeah. That's it really, that's all this workshop is about, but hopefully it's just more a theoretical example, and then you can take that code and you can play around with it. Yeah, I mean, you will do this just time and time again in any React app that you build, and beginners will find that they can pass stuff down in the props, but then, oh hang on, I've got a lot of components now, how do I just pass them anywhere I want? And if you're dealing with very, very large applications, sure, you might use some sort of state management system like Redux, but for the apps of the size that you're currently developing and you know, around that size, then yeah, you should just be able to pass your state up and down in this manner. Yeah, and once you get used to it, it's not too bad. All right, any questions on that? Any bits in the code that you want clarification of, or maybe have a look at it first and then ask me personally? Yeah, anything you can think of? I'm sure you will, Porritt. You always come up with at least one good question, so I look forward to it. No, we'll leave it there for now. Okay, cool. Thank you very much. You're right, you got that thinking expression on.